Okay, well, good morning. So the time is 9:01 a.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Jessica Brandt with the Office of Planning and Environmental Review. I will be serving as today's hearing officer. Stephanie Townsend will be serving as the Zoning Administration Secretary and Timekeeper. This is the Sacramento County Zoning Administrator hearing for January 20th, 2021. This hearing is being recorded. I will now read the announcement. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. When I open public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, you will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. Written comments are always accepted. Send your email comment to boardclerk, all one word, at saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. To appeal a decision, decisions made here may be appealed within 10 days to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The fee is $3,935. Next, please follow these meeting procedures and best practices if you are a presenter. Speak from a handset or headset. Mute devices when not speaking to minimize background noise. Announce your name when speaking on an agenda item so that all participants and listeners are aware of who has the floor. Send a comment through the chat function if participating from a laptop, PC, or mobile device, so the administrator knows you are waiting in queue to speak. Stephanie, are there any additional announcements that need to be made, or can we move to administering the oath?
Nope, that is it.
Okay, so please go ahead and administer the oath. And please take yourself off mute when you take the oath.
Okay, so please raise your right hand and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm?
Okay. So with that, Stephanie, can you call the first item?
Yes. Item 1 is approval of the action summary from December 2nd, 2020.
Okay. I have reviewed and do approve the action summary from December 2nd, 2020. Item, please.
Item 2, Espinoza Gomez residence located at 6632 5th Street in the Rio Linda, Alberta community. Request is for a special development permit and design review. Environmental dock is exempt.
Thank you. So I believe Balek Batar is our lead planner, and you will be giving a presentation. So go ahead, Balek.
Good morning. This is Balek Batar. I'll go ahead and jump into my presentation. Next slide, please. Any members of the public that are interested in accessing project files can do so by going to planningdocuments.saccounty.net and typing in the control number PLNP 2019-00233. Next slide, please. The subject property is located at 6632 5th Street, which is approximately 145 feet south of the 5th Street and L Street intersection. The property is zoned residential under the RD5 zoning district, and the surrounding area is primarily consisting of single-family residential properties, also zoned RD5. Next slide, please. A special development permit is requested to legalize an addition to the primary residence that has a 4-foot 2-inch rear yard setback instead of the 10-foot rear yard minimum. as well as to legalize a garage that exceeds the maximum square footage, height, and encroaches into the side and rear yard setbacks as listed in the request here. The design review is also necessary for this project. Next slide, please. Here we can see these. Can we go back one slide, please? There should be a slide with the site plan, but if it's not being shown here, it should be on page 23 of the ZA final packet. And the outline of the garage shows the outline of a smaller garage, which the new one has been built around. This is going to be more apparent in contact photos shown later. Next slide, please. Here we have the elevations and floor plan of the main house with the additions. Next slide, please. Here are the elevations and floor plan of the garage. Next slide, please. Here we can see a history of the site aerials showing the house. In the aerials dated 1968 and 2011, you can find the portion of the rear of the building that protrudes out toward the east. In the 2018 aerial, you will find the house in its existing state with the rear additions that were made to be flush with the previous protrusion. Next slide, please. Here we can see a photo of the rear yard encroachment by the house. Next slide, please. And here we can see the garage that was built around the smaller garage on the photo to the left. The garage will need to be removed as it proceeds through the building permit process. The photo in the middle shows the rear yard setback encroachment of the garage, and the photo to the right shows the side yard setback encroachment. All encroachment measurements were taken from the edge of the eave of the structures as is required for accessory building. Next slide, please. So the as was shown earlier with the aerials, the rear of the property had already encroached onto the rear yard setback in its previous existing state. The additions have marginally increased this encroachment, however, what was previously 4-foot 3-inch encroachment has now turned into a 4-foot 2-inch rear yard setback. The larger garage was built, the applicant had indicated that the larger garage was built sometime in February of 2019, and it has been built around the smaller existing garage, which will need to be removed. Staff did not identify conflicts with the general plan or community plan, and due to the existing nature of the building, no conflicts were identified with the countywide design guidelines. We haven't received any public comments to date, and the project had gone before the Rio Linda CPAC on October 23, 2019, and was recommended for approval. Next slide, please. Staff recommends the zoning administrator to recognize the exempt status of the request under CEQA and approve the special development permit and find the project in substantial compliance with design guidelines, subject to findings and conditions in attachment 2. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Valek. So I do want to open this up to the applicant to see if they have anything they wish to add, or if they have read the staff report and the conditions, and if they're in agreement. I think, Mr. Lunger, is that you? I don't know if he can get himself off of mute. Gary?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Super.
Okay,
Did
we
you
were
have
on the
anything?
phone. We had dialed in. I thought they were going to get connected by the phone, but okay, we're good. We're
Okay.
just here. I'm here with Mr. Espinoza. We read all of the findings and the conditions, and it all seems appropriate and accurate, and we approve of all of them. I have Mr. Espinoza here. If you have any questions for him.
Super. No, thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate the presentation from Belect, and he didn't get into it too much in the presentation, but he did go through all of the findings that we need to make for a special development permit like this in his staff report, and I thought that was very helpful. It's hard to approve a special development permit just because it's being asked for, but some of his analysis showing that it makes the house more livable, the overall size and area of the structures aren't out of whack with the area around them, so it's not overbearing to the neighborhood. That helps give me a little more comfort to approve something like this. So thank you for that, Belect. And I think that was the only comment I have. I think I don't have any public comments on this. Stephanie, do we have one on the line?
May
We do.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Anyway, Gary Lunger here. I've been a general contractor in Sacramento for like 35 years, and I did an inspection of the property, of the improvements that have been put on. And in my opinion, they've been done through code very professionally, and I don't think that they'll have any problem getting a building permit for the getting approved for through the building department when they apply for the permit.
That's good. It'll just be an expensive permit.
Yeah, right.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Stephanie?
So we do have one person on the line for a public comment. We're just trying to get them on the line right now. So
Okay.
just bear with us 1 second.
Hello?
I'm sorry, are you the applicant?
Yeah, I'm the applicant.
Okay, so you can hang up this time because this is the public.
All right.
You've given your testimony through the,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Well, that explains that, Gary.
Okay.
All right. So no public comment then on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, great. Okay, so with that, I'm back to the recommendations. So I am going to go ahead and recognize the exempt status of the request under Section 15301 of the California Environmental Quality Act, and I am going to approve the special development permit subject to the findings and the conditions listed in Attachment 2 of the staff report. I'm not going to read all of the items under the special development permit. They are listed on that attachment. And I will find the project in substantial compliance with the countywide design guidelines, again, subject to the findings and conditions in Attachment 2 of the staff report. With that, I think we can move on to item 2.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay, item 3 is 7139 Almond Avenue Incidental Agricultural Accessory Structure located at 7139 Almond Avenue in the Orangeville community. Request is for a special development permit and design review. Environmental doc is exempt.
Great, and I believe we have Balak Batar as the lead planner. Again, we'll give a presentation whenever you're ready, Balak.
Thank you, Jessica. If there are any members, this is Balak Batar, I'll just go ahead and jump into the presentation. Any members of the public that are interested in accessing project files can do so by going to planningdocuments.saccounty.net and typing in the control number PLNP 2020-00085. Next slide, please. The subject property is located in 7139 Almond Avenue and is zoned residential as the RD2 zoning district. The surrounding area is primarily consisting of residential properties, also zoned RD2, but also zoned AR1 as well. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing a 2,000 square foot incidental agricultural accessory structure, meaning that the building will primarily be used for the storage of personal agricultural equipment and materials. A special development permit is requested to allow a 6-foot side yard setback instead of the 10-foot minimum, and allow a building height of 27 feet, which is 3 feet greater than the 24 feet maximum. A design review is also necessary for this request. Next slide, please. Here we can see the site plan. An ash tree to the west of the building is proposed for removal. The reason for encroaching into the side yard setback is to better align the existing concrete driveway to the main door of the accessory structure itself. As you'll see on the site plan, there is a portion of Cripple Creek that runs through the western portion of the property, and that has led to an additional need for increasing the height of the building to meet minimum flood elevation requirements. Next slide, please. Here we have the elevations of the building. As you can see, there is the main opening to the building is located toward the north side of the structure, which again is the reason for why it is encroaching into the side yard setback. Next slide, please. So here we can see some photos of where the structure will be proposed approximately. There is an existing temporary tarp and tent that is located where the accessory structure is going to be proposed. That will be removed, and the materials and items stored under that tarp will be moved into the accessory structure if approved and built. The materials of the structure are already on site. The owner had purchased the materials and had gone through the building permit process and was told that the special development permit will be necessary. And so on these photos, you might see some of those materials out there. The photo to the right shows a portion of that concrete driveway that will be aligning with where the accessory structure is proposed. And as you can see there in the middle of the photo to the right, you will see the ash tree that is proposed for removal. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, there is a stream located on the western portion of the property, which necessitates the structure to meet minimum floor elevation requirements and further elevates the building by 2 feet. An ash tree will be removed and minor encroachment will occur to 2 oak trees. We've coordinated with the county tree coordinator and environmental coordinator, and tree preservation conditions have been added to attachment 2. The project has not received any public comments to date. The project went to DRAC on October 8th, 2020, where the DRAC voted to recommend that the project be found in substantial compliance with design guidelines. In their deliberations, they did note that the structures of similar scale and nature were found throughout the neighborhood, and that this project did not seem uniquely out of character in its design. The project also went to the Orangevale CPAC on November 3rd, 2020, and was recommended for approval there as well. Next slide, please. Staff recommends the zoning administrator to recognize the exempt status under CEQA and to approve the special development permit and find the project in substantial compliance with design guidelines, subject to attachment 2. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Black. Just to clarify, the main entryway is actually facing east, correct? With the flat wall along the northern property line?
Sorry, correct. Yes, the entrance faces east, but it is the entrance is closer to the northern portion of the building, toward the northern side of the building, but it does face east. You're correct.
Okay. It looks like we have I don't have any more questions for you, Black. Thank you. We do have the applicant online, Mr. Riley. I had a quick question. Just looking at some of the context photos, it does look like the neighbors to the north will have a pretty head-on view to the south of that large unbroken wall. Have you been in touch with them about the project? Have they had anything to say? Mr. Riley, you're not coming through correctly. So I wasn't able to catch that. You were pretty garbled. Stephanie, how do we usually deal with this?
This is Almo from the clerk of the board's office. I mean, my suggestion would be that he exit the meeting and then come try and re-enter the meeting. I've never heard that happen before.
Right.
Probably just hold this item and take the next item and then have him exit. And if that's what you wanted to do, it's up to you.
Okay.
Oh, I see he's re-entered the meeting
He's
here.
re-entered. Let's try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's
yeah.
so much better.
Oh, okay.
You sounded like me now.
Oh, God. Okay. I forgot what the question was. I apologize.
I was just asking if you had any conversations with the applicant.
Oh, right. So, okay, my neighbor, his father basically owned a 2-acre lot that parallels my whole property there. So the father still lives in his house. He split off 2 half-acres to his son and then his daughter as you go east to west. So the building mostly lines up with the dad's property. I spoke with him personally, and he didn't really care at all. But there are a series of oak trees there that shield most of that, at least 25 feet tall. So they won't really.
Yeah, and I think
so a lot of it will be shielded, but you're right.
Right.
So the people that,
but there's been some.
I talked with him very recently because I was looking for some surveying connections there, but. Yeah, they were okay with it. And his property line basically ends almost exactly where that building starts. So it's really his dad's property that aligns with. But he was okay with it. He did not tell me he didn't want to.
Not to be a shock to them or anything.
No.
I appreciate that. Mr. Riley, were you able to review the staff report and the conditions? And are you in agreement with the conditions on the approval?
Yes, I've reviewed the staff report and the conditions, and I'm in agreement with the conditions and report.
Okay.
Findings.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, I think I don't have any more questions for the applicant. Again, I appreciate the findings that were brought forth for the special development permit, and I think, like the design review advisory committee said, this isn't out of character in the neighborhood. The scale of the building is not, and the height is somewhat driven by the need to go up and out of the floodway. So at this point, I will recognize the exempt status of the request under Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act. I will approve the special development permit, subject to the findings and the conditions listed in Attachment 2 of the staff report, and find the project in substantial compliance with the countywide design guidelines, again, subject to the revised findings and conditions listed in Attachment 2 of this report. And I believe that is it for item number 3. Go ahead.
This is Stephanie, the clerk. I just wanted the record to show that we did not have any public comments on that item.
Thank you, Stephanie. I got thrown by the Minnie Mouse voice.
Okay.
Awesome. So with that, there is a 10-day appeal period, but once that lapses, you can move forward with your building permits. And I believe we can move
Thank
on
you.
to item number 4.
Item 4, El Dorado Savings Bank drive-through speaker box located at 7185 Marietta Drive in the Consumnes community. Request for a conditional use permit. Environmental doc is a final environmental impact report memorandum.
Okay,
Good
thank
morning.
you, Stephanie.
This
It
is
looks
David
like
Ulrey,
we
the
have.
planner for this project. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, David.
Oh, okay. This is David Ulrey, the planner for this project. It's the El Dorado Savings Bank drive-through. Next slide, please. So it's located on Marietta Drive and along Jackson Road in the Consumnes community. And the request is a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through with amplified sound within 300 feet of a residential zoning district. The only residentially zoned property within that 300-foot radius is the RD30 undeveloped property across Jackson Road, so that's important to note. Next slide, please. So the building and site design of the property was approved by the design review administrator back in 2019, and building construction was recently completed. The environmental coordinator did determine that the EIR for the Marietta Gardens project is adequate and appropriate for the current project, and the Consumnes Community Planning Advisory Council did meet on October 28th and recommended approval of the proposed project. Next slide, please. So here we have the site plan. Kind of hard to see, but that little red box up top is pointing to the proposed location of the speaker box. And once again, this site plan was approved through design review, everything but the speaker box, and found to be consistent with the countywide design guidelines. Next slide, please. And here is the landscape plan. It has been reviewed by the landscape section, and there are no anticipated impacts to the prior approved landscape plan. Next slide, please. And here we have the proposed speaker box. On this diagram, they do show that the camera and video display are optional. Those items are being included in this, so it will have those elements. And next slide. And so with that, staff recommends that the recommendation be to recognize the environmental coordinator's memorandum dated September 4th, 2020, and determine the final environmental impact for the Marietta Gardens projects are still adequate and complete for the proposed project, and approve the conditional use permit subject to the findings and conditions listed in attachment 2. Next slide. And I guess that concludes my presentation. The applicant's here as well, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, David. Just out of curiosity, is it an ATM, or is it actually communication with a teller during business hours? I wasn't super clear on that.
So my understanding, and maybe the applicant can speak better to this, but it's going to be kind of like a money drop box with a pneumatic tube that runs to the bank. But the applicant might be able to better explain some of the operational components of that.
Okay, great. I think it's Cindy Moreno.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, David explained it correctly. It's a pneumatic tube system where you put money or whatever in the tube. It goes to the bank, and there is a video so that you can be seen from the bank and to the car window. And there is some sound, but most of the communication is technically through the pneumatic tube. It's not an ATM.
Okay. I just wasn't as clear on the restricted hours if it was an ATM, so that makes sense.
And
Maybe. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, can I just add one thing I intended to include in the presentation, but we did review the consistency with the noise element of the general plan, and it complies with the standards.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that you guys looked at both the RD30 across Jackson and also some extended stay to the south. So that looked like a robust item. So, okay. No, I just was, I was going to mention we should condition that if there's kids in the car, that the pneumatic tube includes suckers on the way back. They used to do that when I was a kid, which was awesome. I will not make a motion on that, so don't worry. So I don't have any other questions on this. Cindy, have you had a chance to review the staff report and conditions? Are you in agreement?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. All right. With that, Stephanie, I don't have any public comments. Do you have any speakers waiting?
We do not have any public comments.
Okay, super. Then I will go ahead and recognize the Environmental Coordinator Memorandum dated September 4th, 2020, which is attachment 5 of the project staff report. Determine the final environmental impact reports for Murrieta Gardens 1 and 2 and Murrieta Gardens Hotel and Extended Stay. Control numbers 2003 0302, 2006 0514, and 2012 PLNP 2012 00168, all in attachment 6. Projects are still adequate and complete. And then approve the conditional use permit subject to the findings and conditions listed in attachment 2. And David, was this considered not in need of a review under the design review guidelines?
Yeah, so since this overall project was reviewed by DRAC, the building pads and landscape and site plan, we determined that was not required. Okay.
So with that, that concludes my actions. Again, there is a 10-day appeal period. The approval will become final after that period has lapsed unless an appeal is filed. Okay, and I believe that's the last of our hearing items. Stephanie, you want to move to the next item?
Item 5 is a staff update, if any.
Okay, hearing none.
Yeah, Jessica, this is Joelle Inman, Senior Planner. There's no staff update today.
Perfect. Thank you, Joelle. Okay, next item.
Item 6, zoning officer comments.
I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
And item 7.
Item 7, no comment, no public comments.
Okay. So at this time, it is 9:35, and I am adjourning this meeting. The next zoning administrator meeting is scheduled for February 3rd, 2021.